Hey guys, so the plans that I followed to build this bench can be found on rogueengineer.com. I personally did not design this build. I wish that I had though, because it's really easy and it turns out so beautiful. So let's get started. So take two 2x10x8 boards, like I've got right here. Some of them are not going to be completely perfect. That's okay. So something like this, where there's a crack there, just cut it at the other end and that'll just be extra. So take each board and you're going to cut it into 3 sections: a 40-inch, a 26, and a 21.5 inch. And that's going to be one side, and then you'll have 2 sides. Okay, for your feet, start at the bottom of one leg and measure 4.5 inches up. And do that on both sides. And you'll have your feet. Okay, go ahead and clamp them all together. And once you've done that, you're gonna make pocket holes. So for this part, you can either use a Craig jig, which I am not demonstrating in this video, or you can just use this guy. And I'll have a link for specifically what it's called and where you can buy it. I think it's $5 or $6 at Lowe's or something like that. And this part takes a little bit of practice. It took me a few months to kind of get the hang of it, to get the angle right, to keep the screw from going in through the other side. And it takes a little bit of practice, but that's okay. Just practice on some scrap boards on connecting them this way, but it makes life so much easier. It cuts your time in half. And I highly recommend this. Okay, here's your close-up of your pocket holes. They're not gonna be gorgeous, but I don't mind. If you are after them looking a lot more seamless with less of those rough edges, I would highly recommend, again, getting a Craig jig. But for building this for just myself, I'm really not too worried. And these are gonna be filled with wood filler eventually. So I like to use the 1 5/8 inch screws. For whatever reason, they just seem to go in with a better grip, but they tend to not go through to the other side as much as the 2-inch screws do. And you need a longer drill bit, the one I just showed. And yeah, just screw it all together. Okay, now that you've got your 2 matching sides, you'll notice that on one side the pocket holes are showing. You can flip the second one around and mirror the other one so that the pocket holes are going to be only on the inside. But again, like I said, I'm just making it for myself, so I'm going to fill it with wood filler and stain over and call it a day. So here I'm just drawing the sides of the benches out by hand. If you're not comfortable doing that, the plans on rogueengineer.com, they come with templates for the side that you can just tape on there and kind of trace out if you're more comfortable doing that. Or you can draw it by hand, that works too. So this is one of the more tedious parts of the project. At least with the jigsaw that I have a really cheap jigsaw, and the video is sped up so it makes it look a lot easier than it was, but it took about 30 minutes to cut this guy out. And it doesn't need to be perfect because we're gonna sand it after this, and as I'll show you, some of the edges were really rough. So if this isn't perfect, it's really okay. So here's our finished side. And we're gonna go ahead and take that and put it right on top of the other one and just trace it out. Okay, now we're at the fun part. So the duration of this video is about 10 minutes worth of sanding, and I used a 60 grit, and it really makes a difference just after 10 minutes of sanding. So I would recommend spending about 30 minutes on each bench piece, and you'll see how significant. I mean, it looks really good just as it is right here. But even the guy on top, I'm gonna go back through with a 180 grit or a 200 grit sandpaper. I'm sorry, 220. And that'll make it shine a lot more and smooth and make it feel a lot smoother. But just for just 10 minutes with a 60 grit sandpaper, I think that looks pretty good. And now we're just gonna fill in all the holes with wood filler and stain the sides, and that's it. The sides are done.